Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Shell Energy Stadium. Thank you for being here this morning. We're very excited to introduce to you two of our newest members to the Houston Dash family today. And to kick us off, I'd like to welcome Jessica O'Neill, our President of Business Operations.
Thank you and good morning. I'll echo the welcome. On this cold and chilly morning, we are here hopefully with warm hospitality and an exciting development as we turn the page for the Houston Dash and what's next. I am absolutely thrilled. I think the start of this season obviously is the next chapter of this organization. Within all facets, we are really positioned to be a destination of choice for the best in the world, and that involves a high-performance culture, both on and off the field. We partner together to make that happen, as we have seen in the history of this club, but most recently, the standings of the last couple years do not reflect the potential of this organization, and in order for that to change, we need a new leadership to take us to the next level, and I have no doubt that we have found it. We have, started a search this past summer. Angela was the clear choice to be the first president of soccer for the Houston Dash. Her resume speaks for itself, but most importantly, the way that she's going to turn this around with Fabrice at the helm is something that we are all eager to see come to fruition here in the next couple of days. So we have believed that there is a robust plan and strategy with support from club ownership to take this to the next level, and today is merely just the start of what that looks like. So very, very thrilled to be standing here in front of you all today with these two leaders who can lay out a little bit more about what the next chapter for the Houston Dash looks like. Thank you all.
Thank you for that. We'll start with opening remarks, beginning with Angela.
Thank you, everybody. Jess, thank you for that introduction as well. I am ecstatic to be here right now with you all. I don't think there's any doubt what the responsibility is for both Fabrice and myself being here today. In part, it's to bring stability to this club so that we can be consistent in terms of our long-term and short-term goals for this club and this organization. We are bringing a vision to life. I've heard so much about the potential of this club, and I see the opportunity in a very short period of time. And now it's time for some of that potential to be realized. So very excited to be here with you all today and to be joined with Fabrice as our next head coach.
Good morning, everyone. There's three things that really kind of drew me to this project: the leadership, the staff, and the players. And as Jess mentioned a little bit earlier, I think you have a very high potential group that has underperformed. And I'm very excited to just be a part of it. One thing that was kind of laid out from the get-go, and as I've gotten to know Angela a lot, is how important trust is, and how important trust is to keep building day in, day out, week in, week out. And so those are a few things that really have drawn me to this project, and I'm really excited to get started.
Thank you for that. We'll start with the question portion. So please raise your hand and please state your name and affiliation once you get the microphone here from Francia. Go ahead, Alex.
Alex Parra with the Deportes Nation. Bienvenidos. Welcome to both of you. Angela, everything has a start. I know it sounds like you have the support from the club. What are your goals, short-term, mid-term, and long-term? I know you're just getting started, but have you set those out? And I'm sure there's a journey that gets you there.
Absolutely. It's always a journey. But one of the best and greatest things about sport is that each game, each season, we have a clean slate. It doesn't matter where you start or finish from. And we've actually just spent the first portion of our preseason as a staff collectively getting together, talking about culture building, what type of feedback we want to be able to give and receive one another, what type of trust we can start to build. There's already a great foundation of culture within this organization. And so part of that in terms of short and long-term goals is to continue to build that culture. How we do that, how we consistently show up, how we pay attention to the details, that all feeds into high performance. So we want to be able to reflect some of the cultural aspects off the field, onto the field, because we believe that will bring us success. We want to make playoffs this year and to be a consistent contender year over year. But how we do that consistently will take time to build, and we invite you all in that journey.
Thank you. Coach, if I may, just a quick one. What style of play do we expect from your teams?
So in this league, you have to be very good at every moment of the game. And for me, it's very clear. In one word, I'd say it's comprehensive. You have to be very good in every moment and have clear key performance indicators on what that looks like for each moment in the game. So for me, yes, I want to break lines, but I also want to be positioned extremely well to prevent those transition moments from happening. Also want to not just necessarily high press, but prevent the opposition from getting into really important spaces to prevent them from scoring goals. So for me, it's a comprehensive way of actually creating a game plan to dominate the opposition in each of the moments of the game.
Coach, I'm going to follow up. Is that an attacking style of play? You're going to go for goal, entertaining soccer, football, like we've discussed in the past, and even if you have to risk reward?
Attacking, yes, it's creating progressions, but 100% it will be attacking. We'll look to break lines and we'll look to create chances from that.
Nate,
Good
go
morning
ahead.
to both of you. Nate Griffin, Fox 26 Morning Sports. Welcome. I could ask you what kind of a team you want to build, but I want to ask you about the culture of soccer in the city of Houston, and have you had a chance to really kind of observe it? Do you know it already? What can you tell us about that in regards to both teams?
So I would say, obviously, the city and culture of Houston is very diverse, and so I think I also have played here a couple times, played a lot, when I was a youth director, played a lot of the youth teams in the area, and so very familiar with the different teams and the different setups, and we're looking to build relationships with some of those clubs around and potentially bring in some of these high-profile players into our market and create that community within Houston.
I think that's one of the most exciting parts about this opportunity is, being the fourth largest market in the world, in the country, and the opportunity of the soccer landscape here in the state, but in the city of Houston specifically. And when we're looking at our overarching goals but vision for this club, we want to be a global destination for football. And with it being a city of innovation, and in a changing landscape of this NWSL and professional women's football, that is going to be something that we want to tap into. So the community aspect is really critical in our minds in terms of how we are really successful.
We will go to questions on Zoom shortly, but are there any additional questions? We'll go to Ubaldo here in the back.
Welcome to Houston to both of you. Baldo here with Telemundo. When you look at the roster that you guys currently have, how satisfied are you with the current players on the squad, and what are the possibilities of you guys maybe potentially adding key positions for key players?
I'll touch on it more large context, and I'll let you get into the details. I think, it's an evolving roster. We've already been very active in this offseason, as you've seen, with a few pieces being added into this roster to really be able to provide Fabrice with a style of play that can be adaptable. I think when you look at some of the players that have been in this league and have really impacted teams, you look at a Banda, a Chowinga, the game itself is evolving. And so to be able to have a roster that really matches that adaptability, allowing Fabrice to be flexible and have versatility within the roster has been something that we've really been honing in on for roster selections and some of these final pieces.
Yeah, one thing that has impressed me since coming on board is how much of the data has kind of influenced in the decisions we've made with those rosters. So obviously you've seen some of the players that have come in. It's more than just what it looks good. There's a lot of detail and data behind that, and that's really important. Especially this day and age. And so the other thing I'd say is if you look at the track record of this league, what you find is sometimes teams can be first and last within a year. And so sometimes those margins are very small. Sometimes all you need is a couple different players, maybe a different training environment to just change things. So I'm very excited with the decisions that have been made, and with what we currently have, very excited with the roster moving forward.
So we'll start with Danny, then we'll work our way back.
Thank you. Daniela Rodriguez with Deportes Nation. Just to follow up on that question, but any position specifically that you're looking for, or you're still working on that?
There's definitely positions that we're looking for in profiles, but as Angela said, you have to be very adaptable. So you can't just have one player who can only do one specific thing. And so for us, there's a lot of, within our key profiles, there's a lot of different things that we're looking at to fill those certain roles. So to answer your question, yes.
Chris from Houston Sports Images, how do you take a group of individual talent and turn it into a team where everyone else has failed so far?
The first piece I'd say is you have to create a standards-driven culture. That is first and foremost. You can't build any sort of team identity or IDP, but there has to be a culture in place. And what I've found with the players in this league is they will not only meet the standards that you set, they'll exceed them. And so if you create those expectations, create those standards from the get-go, they will not only meet them, but they'll rise to it. So.
Thank you for that. I think we'll go to Zoom here for the first few questions. We'll start with Jeff Kassouf. Jeff, go ahead.
Thanks, Edgar. Thank you both for doing this. Can you hear me?
Hear you, Jeff.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. Maybe for both of you, if I could, just to start, just when you're talking about team culture, how do you sort of tangibly define it, if you can, in that sense? I mean, is it direct player feedback? Is it creating sort of these internal benchmarks? I mean, as you try to build that, how do you know you're succeeding, as you do that in the moment?
Yeah, it's a great question. We've actually been spending a lot of time on that. I think it starts with our people. It starts with our staff and how we collectively support one another and are bought into what the culture is, defining it clearly, and making sure that we're all aligned so that we're supporting our players to the best of our abilities as well. It comes in language. It comes in how we show up day to day, our mindset, our mentality. And as Fabrice just mentioned, what are those standards? Defining the expectations and being very clear about the vision and the goals that we are setting, and then making sure that those are measurable. We are instituting some types of ways to measure, but also how we keep each other accountable. So all of those things, as I mentioned, the culture already that it's in existence is a very good one, but we have to nurture that daily and consistently.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. I would say, when it comes to culture, it's really the beliefs that are reflected in your behaviors. And so that's really important. That's really important that everyone, not just our staff, but also the players, that we collaborate in terms of what we want those beliefs and behaviors to be. And I think when you bring those players along that journey of creating the beliefs and the behaviors, that's where culture really gets cemented. And the second piece I would say is the importance of building trust. And there's many ways you can do that, but that will be 100% key. That's one thing we've done a lot with the staff, is just building a culture of authenticity. Just be you. Be you. Don't try to be someone else. Just be you. And as we can continually fully express who we are, that's how you start building that trust around you. So.
Up next, we'll go with Dan Lauletta. Dan, go ahead.
Thank you. Dan Lauletta from Equalizer. For Fabrice, the two players that came over from Gotham, Sheehan and Ryan, I know that happened before you joined the club, but I'm just wondering if you could discuss both those players and whether or not you think, especially with Yasmin Ryan coming, if that is a signal to other players around the league about Houston being a place that a free agent might, or a person who's looking to be traded might want to wind up.
Yeah, I mean, Jess mentioned earlier, destination of choice. I think that's something that I'm a firm believer in. And how do you create an environment where this becomes a destination of choice? And so that's something, I think it speaks volumes. Obviously, I wasn't hired when they made the decision, and it goes back to the data-driven decisions that we were talking about with Mike and Eric and what they've done, the work kind of behind the scenes. And, yes, 100%. We want to attract those types of players. We're very, very, very excited to work with them, not only you guys probably see they're really good players, but the background on them, they're great people. And so that's something that we want to definitely add to this culture and what we're building here.
Up next, we'll go with
From the
Danielle
out-
Lerner.
Dan, you can finish your follow-up if you want.
Okay, thank you. Angela, from the outside, we're looking at a team that finished at the bottom, has never won a playoff game. The coach was MIA for most of last season. I know that's not on your watch, but you say the culture was established when you came in. So I'm curious what things internally showed that to you that maybe are not as evident on the outside, and how do you, assuming that they're there, how do you kind of show that to people on the outside of the organization?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. When I look at some of the movement in the off season, I think the staff that are in place right now are very representative of the positive culture of the club in existence, as well as elements of the community. And I say that in terms of the care, the welcome that I've received personally and my family. I think that's something that is very important to have, being people in person first and people in person oriented as part of the culture that has been established. I think, obviously there's no doubt that there's work to be done. I think Fabrice and I have alluded to some of what that kind of larger plan looks like. But ultimately, the group that we have right now and the new additions that are coming into the club are part of this reestablished culture. And it's a very positive one, a very eager group that is ready for the challenge and looking to elevate to the next level.
Danielle, go ahead.
Thank you. Danielle Lerner with the Houston Chronicle. Fabrice, you spoke about, trust being so important to establish with this team, especially they've seen so many head coaches come and go, so many front office people come and go. Can you shed a little more light on how you go about establishing trust with players? And so far, have you been able to connect with many individually? Have you talked to them as a group? And kind of what will these next few weeks of preseason look like in terms of you building that trust?
Yeah, great question. In terms of the communication with the players, the offseason is a very short time, so I want to be very respectful and mindful of the players' offseason. So yes, a message was sent out. Yes, there's been some communication exchange with some of the players, but I also wanted to make sure that I respect that space. And so obviously we've had optional trainings start happening this week, and so players are trickling in, and we're starting to connect and kind of really just get to know a lot of them, because I'm very big on face-to-face versus just phone and text messages. So that's the first piece. In terms of building trust, there's a couple things. So first, you have to serve the interest of the players first. They have to really know you care about them. The second piece, you have to be credible. I could be the nicest guy in the world, but if I'm not credible when it comes to how you coach, how you manage, how you lead, players will not trust you. The last piece is, how do you add value to people? How do you add value to players? How do you take an elite level player, an elite level leader, and how do you make them better? And so when you can do those things, that's how you slowly build trust. And when other people are doing that within the organization, that's how trust starts getting built slowly and surely.
Any follow-up there, Danielle?
No, thank you.
We'll take one or two more. Joey, go ahead.
Hey guys, Diana Ordonez is a player who has massively regressed in terms of her goal scoring numbers since her rookie season. How do you get her back to putting up those kind of goal numbers that she did in North Carolina?
The first piece is we have to get into the box. Obviously, one of Dee's greatest strengths is her movement and her ability to create space in the box and to score goals. And so if your team or if a team is not able to progress the ball efficiently, you're not utilizing her greatest skill set. And it goes back to the first question I said, is you have to create progressions. You have to break lines. You have to break the opposition consistently when you have the ball, so that you can get in the box and unlock someone like Dee in her potential and her ability to score goals.
And to follow up with that, getting service into the box, how big of a role will Avery Patterson be involved in that? Is there a plan to get her higher up the field than she was this past season?
Yeah, the one thing with Avery is she's so versatile. She can do so many different things, and I actually have coached her a little bit in the past, and I really value her work ethic and her ability to do different things. And so, yes, there's going to be definitely plans in terms of how we utilize her, whether it's left or right side, to unlock her dribbling ability, her crossing ability, to expose the opposition in those moments.
Thank you so much.
I think we'll wrap up here in person with Alex. Yes.
You talked about trust in the community or diversity from the youth side relative to other sports, but what message do you have for the fans who are eagerly waiting success? I think we're all behind this club. We're all behind the idea of filling Shell Energy Stadium, but what message do you have for the fans that are watching this and are eager to be here and live this new era, like Jessica mentioned?
Great question. I would say first, the fans definitely deserve more. You know, Angela talked about some of the goals that we want to have this year, and obviously making playoffs. And for me, one thing I want us to create is something that goes beyond just that. Something that goes beyond where when you see Houston Dash, you're like, okay, there's something unique with how they play. There's a culture, there's a trust, there's this resilience about the team. That really shines through, that goes outside just making playoffs. So for me, just know that's what we're after. That's what we want to create. And so, yeah, that's what you can expect from us as a team.
I think just echoing some of the similar sentiments Fabrice just mentioned, we want to engage more with our fans. I think it's what you just said, Fabrice. It's, you know, what value are we adding to our fan base? There are fans who have been here from the very beginning and continue to show up. We want to give more people reasons to show up even more consistently. And I think there are two types of people. There are people who give trust until trust is no longer given, and there are people who need to build into that trust. But ultimately, we want to give reasons for people to trust what type of success we're hoping to build here within this organization.
Have you talked to Pat Olmstead, your counterpart, I guess, in soccer?
Yes.
He's lived this.
Yeah.
And he knows the culture. And
Yep.
he also knows, at least from a media point of view, he's trustworthy, he's transparent.
Yep.
He tells it like it is. Are there some lessons to be learned there?
I think the Dynamo have a wonderful blueprint. I think being able to be a part of the same organization and see what Pat and his group have done over the years, and being in a very similar situation. I've talked to Pat a couple years ago, and still will have a good relationship and continue to learn and grow just by seeing some of that as well. Yeah.
Perfect. I think we'll wrap up with that one. We will take a brief pause. We're going to modify the stage a little bit so that we could do a photo opportunity. So we'll be back shortly. For everybody on Zoom, we'll have media resources and other items available later today.